So, welcome to today's session. Today, we are going to start a discussion about the concept of object oriented programming. Today is our day 5. So, let us first understand the concept of OOPS, irrespective of the programming language, and then we will see how with Python we can implement those concepts. So, the concepts of OOPS basically talk about something called as an object and an entity called as classes. So, object is anything around us. Anything around us is an object, and it has got properties and methods. Okay, so properties are also known as attributes, methods are also known as functions, and a class is an entity to which an object is derived from. Our object is also known as an instance of a class. Okay, it is the blueprint or the template from which the object is derived. An object is also known as an instance of a class. Objects belonging to the same class are similar, and different class are different from each other. Okay, so for example, everything around us is an object, even we are objects in the terms of object oriented programming. For example, let us say car is an object. If car is an object, what are all the properties you can think a car will have, and what are all the functions a car can have? Okay, so properties could be color, then type of car, as in whether it is a SUV or is it a sports car or is it a family car or a wagon, etc. Right? Then what else? Engine type, whether it is a petrol car or a diesel car. Then what else you can think about properties? Model, to which particular organization the car belongs to. Then let us talk about functions. Functions could be mileage. Yeah, seating capacity is also a function a method. Property, sorry. Then mileage, service required. These could be the functions associated with the car. Yes, drive could be a function, stop could be a function, and so on and so forth. Correct? Now let us talk about a class object called as house. What all properties you think a house can have? Again, type of house. Then let's say number of rooms. Then what else? Number of floors as well. Maybe a duplex or a quadplex. Could be direction, which direction the house is facing. Then what all are the functions of the house? What all do you think a house has? What are the methods? So the function could be, is it a lease housed? Okay. Or a function could be, yeah, owned or rent. Then function could be your uh, okay, and in so in order, some of the functions could be there for the house type of a object. Now Is the house object, is an entity of house object same as entity of car object? Will the object house be same as car house? Oh, sorry, car object? No, they won't be same, right? But a car object will be similar to another car object. Though the data associated with the object can and will be different, but they are similar to each other. For example, the one car could be of petrol, the other could be of diesel, one could be 5 seater, other could be 8 seater, and so on and so forth. So the data associated with these objects can differ, but they are same. Correct? Now let us talk about, okay, no, not right now, maybe a little later. So this we have discussed about a class and an object, and the properties and the functions which are associated with the object are defined in a class. Okay. Now let us see how we can define a class in Python, and let us then try to create a class at our own systems once we see this. So the class which we are going to create is an employee class. You start with the heading class employee. This for the time being, let us see that later. Now this is the constructor. What does the constructor mean? Constructor or the init function basically means whenever we are trying to create a new instance of the class, that is, whenever we are trying to create an object of the class, whatever the name and salary we are providing it as input, that should be associated with that object instance. So the purpose of initialization method or the constructor is to basically initialize with data the initialize the data associated with the object created at that instance for the class. Self basically refers to the class itself. So we have this init method. There are two properties, salary and name. So we say self dot name is name, self dot salary is salary. So when we are creating an object of this class, an instance of this class, the emp1 object name would be Zara, the emp1 object salary would be 2k. Then we have got a simple method, display employee, which takes as self, that is, which refers to the class itself, print the name and print the salary associated with the object. That what happens in display employee. So we define in here two objects, and we call to the same function associated with both the objects of the same class. So when you run this, it will simply print name as Zara, salary as 2k, and the second name as money and salary as. So second employee name would be printed and the salary would be printed. So it is a simple class which has got two properties, name and salary, for the object, and a method called as print information or display employee information for this. The rest of the code which is commented, I will explain that later. Is this clear? Yes, it is. the constructor basically should be calling, don't compare it with Java. The constructor in here should be calling all the properties to be associated or to be instantiated with the object creation of a class. So this is the code. Try it at your system. Let me know if this works, and then we will try to create another class with some properties and function. You are getting error. Okay. For the rest of you guys, is it working? The init method is not defined correctly. Use underscore underscore. Did you remove these? The init method has your init method should look like this. Is it removing the underscore for you guys when you're viewing it? Let me make myself as a presenter. One second. See this. Do you see my screen? This is how your init method should look like. It is not able to associate or find the constructor method. Underscore underscore init underscore underscore. Change it to this. If you guys are getting error, change it to this. Let me know if this works. Puneet, the question is to find the percentage, not to print details. So correct your method. The question is to find the percentage, not to print details. Your method def display employee is not within the indentation, Monica. Python is very picky in that manner. Put a tab, use a tab to put that method inside the class. Yeah. No, it should come with no, 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 it's wrong. The line number 5 should be in the same alignment as line number 2. Correct the alignment, please. And for the print statement as well. Now run. Renuka, is your error corrected? No problem. Is your error corrected, Renuka? Okay, good. So you are all able to run. Karthik, you also? Great. So try out this question. The question is, whatever marks you have provided for the student, you have to divide it by 500 and then multiply by 100 to get the percentage. So you have to basically print percentage, where you have to print the name and the percentage secured by the student. So you have to perform a certain operation before you print the information on the screen. Yeah, now it is correct. Good work. All of you done implementing the student program? Okay. So you should get an output like this, all of you. This should be the output which you guys should get. Okay, you guys can complete it. If you are facing any issues, let me know. Your code should somehow look like this. Okay, you define the class student, you initialize the name, gender, age and marks. Then you use a method called as print percentage, which takes the self object. You calculate the percentage, then you print the name and the percentage secured by the person. You create three objects and you call the method print percent. This is how your code should look like. Okay, now we will see a type of attribute known as class attribute. So this attribute functions at the class level. So at the class level, not inside any method but outside this, just beneath the class, we define this variable emp count is 0. And whenever we are initializing an instance of an employee, we increment this emp count by 1. Then too, we create a method called as display count, where we simply call this employee.emp count. So notice that we are not using self in here. We are directly using the class name followed by emp count, because this particular attribute is at the class level, not at the object level. These are object level attributes. This is a class level attribute. So when you create two employees, you have utilized the initialize method. The variable count would become 1 and then 2. Then when you print that you want to get the employee count, you get the output as 2. Okay. So there is this method which takes information, which takes information at the class level. Whenever you call initialize method, you are incrementing the count, and then you call with any of the objects this method, the total employee count will get printed. Is this clear? You can call it with any of the objects you have created. That's not a problem. Yeah, you are right. To avoid the confusion, you can directly call this by by calling this variable. Both of them are correct. The method display count in here will be associated with all the employees, okay, because that is how it is created. If you don't like this structure, then this method should be removed. You then don't need this method. You can directly call the variable by using this employee.emp count. Okay. Is this clear to all of you? Renuka, Karthik, Monica, do you guys have any questions? Okay. So let us talk about another concept which is known as the concept of inheritance. So the concept of inheritance basically says there is a class which is known as a parent class from which a child class inherits. When a child class inherits from a parent class, it is going to inherit the feature and the function set of the parent class. So how do we define a concept of inheritance? Here we have created a class called as Animalia, which has got the initialization constructor for age, gender and limbs. In here, we take two attributes from the end user to define the object age and gender. Then we define some methods, movement, breadth, diet. Okay, and we are printing some information inside it. Then we create another class. In bracket, we pass the name of our main class. Okay, so in here, what will be happening is this class becomes a child of this class, and in its init method also, this class doesn't have any feature set on its own, any properties on its own. So it is going to initialize the age and gender of the Animalia class, and then it has got its own methods. Okay, forget about method overriding for the time being. Just see that it has got, let me remove this, comment out this, we'll see that a little later. Now we created an object of the land animal class by passing age and gender, and we call the function. So you can call can run function, you can call even the function which are associated with the parent class like movement, like breath, okay, like diet. So if I want, you can also access the parent class methods and call them. Here we have created an object of type the parent class, and we are calling the function associated with that object. So canrun is the child class function, they have died as the parent class function. Have a look at this code, try it out on your systems. Remember to ensure that indentation is correct and the init method printed on your system is correct. Try this out on your system. Let me know if you guys have any questions. So Puneet asked the question, why there is no self limbs dot is equal to limbs. Let me clarify this thing. Whenever you are going to initialize the constructor for land animal, that means whenever you are going to create an object of land animal type, it is going to call this constructor. Okay, and then this constructor is going to call this constructor. Fine. So that this age and gender also gets initialized. Since we are not passing the limbs in here, or we are not initializing that with the land animal, we do not use it. That is the reason. What does last one not running for you means, Puneet? This program is not running for you. Output of this line is the method output they can breathe. The method has got this they can breathe, so this is the output. Is this clear, Monica? Do you have the breadth function available in your animal class? The init method for the animal class is not defined properly. Can't you see that error, Puneet? Okay, now we will talk about the concept of method overriding. The concept method overriding basically says that the child and the parent class can both have the same method names. But when we call the method from the child class instance, then the child method will be called and not the parent. So the parent method will not be called if the method is overridden in the child class. For example, the breadth function is also available in the parent class in here, but we have created another breadth function in the child class in here, and we have set through lungs. So when you call using the child object this function, it is not going to output they can breathe, it is going to output through lungs. Because in the overridden method, every time the method is called, the child class object is called. Okay? So I can have the same method in the parent class and in the child class, but whenever I call this method using the child class object, every time the child class method will be called only, not the parent class method. This is known as the concept of overriding, method overriding. Is this clear? Let us take a practice question on inheritance. Create an employee class with properties, name, designation and salary. Create a child class manager inheriting from employee class with function, team size. Create a child class CXO inheriting from manager with property, shares, tenure and function, profit earned, which when called will do the following: multiply salary with shares and divide by 100. So think carefully. It is a three level hierarchy which I am asking you guys to create. You have to create three classes: employee. From employee, you create a manager class. From manager class, you create a CXO class. Then all these three classes have different different features and different functions which you have to call. Okay. Call using object of CXO class, print info, team size, and profit earned. Attempt this question. You have 15 minutes to do it. This is the question, Monica. You have to create three classes employee, which from which a child class inherits manager. From manager, another child class inherits CXO. I have created what properties and method I want you guys to have in that class. And for the CXO class, then call all these methods. So read the question carefully and then perform. Are you guys progressing? I'm making you guys presenter one by one to see your progress. So please accept the presentation request. So you have to say object 1 is equal to just CXO 10 comma 2, not object 1. You don't have to use employee. Okay. Here you are using three inputs, so name, designation, and salary. So first has to be the name. In your input arguments, the first has to be name in double quotes, then designation, then salary. Salary has to also be in, designation also has to be in double quotes. Only three inputs. So remove this two. Yeah. Now call the method. For example, you want to call team size. So say obj1 dot team size dot team size. Now run the program. Now you are getting some errors. Okay. What are all the errors you are getting? You have not used the init method in the manager. Have a look at the example of the Animalia class. Okay. Now whenever you are creating a child class of employee class, you have to also initialize the arguments which the employee will take. And don't use employee.emp count in here. This is the class attribute associated with employee. For the team size, you can ask the end user to enter the team size and then print it. Make this method a simple method like that. In your CXO manager class, you have only initialized shares and tenure. What about name, designation, and salary? Have a look at the Animalia class example and correct this program. Rest of the things are correct. Don't use this team count variable. Just take the input from the end user and print that as a team size. So your salary should not be in double quotes. Salary is an integer. It should be taken as a number. Call emp dot e has to be your capital. Emp dot method print info. Call that. Run. So try to have a look why your program is throwing an error. The employee manager is inheriting from employee, whereas you have not initialized the name, designation and salary. So do that also. And similarly, the same will hold true for CXO class. Have a look at the first program of inheritance which I have shared with you guys and correct the errors. Have a look at this program. Somehow your program should look like this. So I've created a class employee which takes three arguments. I've initialized these arguments and I have printed information. Then I created the class manager. It does not have any argument of its own. So the only thing I'm initializing is the three arguments of the employee class. And for the team size, I am asking end user to print team size and I am printing that. Then in the third, the manager class, besides these three, there is shares and tenure also available. So I first create the input for these three and then for my these two. And then I have this method profit earned where I calculate the profit. Now when I create an object of type CXO, I have to pass five arguments. Three for employee and two for the CXO class. And then I can go ahead and call all these three methods. Okay. Your code should look like this. Read this code. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Anything which is not clear, let me know, please. Is this clear? This program? Okay. Okay, good. So we have seen class, we have seen object, we have seen the concept of inheritance. Now we will talk about the concept of interfaces. Now an interface, what is an interface? An interface is like a contract which a class implementing it has to abide by. So basically, inheritance is based on a relationship is a. For example, manager is an employee. Manager is an employee. CXO is a manager. So the relationship is a. Whereas in interface, the relationship is type of. So interface is a contract based on which a class which is implementing it has to abide by. So in interfaces, you do not have any body to the method. So for example, you will write like this: from interface import interface. You create a class iCar and you tell it is inheriting from interface, and you define two methods, def mileage and def color. Okay, and you just say pass. You do not have any body associated with these methods. Then when you create a particular class, you import the iCar and you import the implements method from the interface, and you say class BMW implements iCar. Here you have to call the methods. All the methods which are available in the iCar interface has to be implemented by this. So this class BMW should be implementing all the methods which have been defined in the iCar interface with some value. What is the benefit of it? Let us say I create another class called as let's say Rolls Royce. The Rolls Royce mileage value could be different and color could be different. Okay. So I can create class which all are abiding by the contract as laid down by the iCar interface, but they have their own implementation of the methods. So a BMW is a type of a car, a Rolls Royce is a type of a car. So that is the benefit the concept of interface brings to the table. You have empty methods defined in the interface. The class which is trying to implement this interface, it's on that class to provide the body to these methods. So it is not same as inheritance. It is not a is a relationship, it is a type of relationship. Make sense? Have a look at this car interface. The body is not there for the methods. The methods are empty. Then the class which is implementing the interface has to provide body to these methods. So any class can implement the iCar interface provided it provides body to all the methods associated, and they can have their own implementations. For example, in Animalia class, these methods, any class which is inheriting the Animalia will have all these methods, and they all will be printing the same information when called. Whereas in here you will have your own body associated with these methods. The relationship is type of, not is a. Going to give you guys an assignment problem for this, not a practice but an assignment. Create an interface browser. Define few methods in it. Create three classes, IE, Firefox and Chrome, implementing the browser interface. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Sorry, by mistake. We are going to have a small discussion on Selenium, three elements, WebDriver, BY, and Web element, because they are related to object-oriented programming, Puneet. Any more questions? Okay. So, as we are going to start with learning Selenium from next week, let me talk about a few things. There are three types of entities in Selenium. One is known as WebDriver, which refers to the browser. Another is known as Web Element, which refers to the HTML element on the page. And the third entity is BY, which refers to the locator, the way we are able to locate an object. All these three entities are basically also entities in Python. So in Python, Selenium is a module. Okay. Selenium is basically a module available to us in Python. So somebody actually went and created this module where by creating module I mean it created classes, interfaces, inheritance, implementations, etc. and created this module Python for us, in which there are three entities: WebDriver, Web Element, and BY. WebDriver refers to the browser, Web Element refers to the HTML element on the page, and BY refers to the locator, the way we are able to define an element. So for the initial few days, we are going to have a look at WebDriver as if, Selenium as if it is a bunch of code for the Python programming language. So I am trying to show you the code for WebDriver and make you understand a few things. Just give me a minute. Let me find that for you guys. Okay. So let us have a look at this is the Selenium Python API. Let us first have a look at the WebDriver. So this is our WebDriver implementation. It's a class available. These are some of its attributes. Then these are some of its methods. Back, close, current URL, current window handle, delete all cookies. These are some of the methods associated with the WebDriver class. Find element by class name, find element by ID. So when you create an instance of the WebDriver, all these methods get associated with it. Get URL will load a web page in the current browser session, and so on and so forth. Now let us have a look at the web element. Web element is also a class. You can read it represents a DOM element. These are the methods associated with the web element class. Clear, click. So these are some of the actions it is going to perform on the HTML element we have identified. But identified using what? I'll tell you what. Identified using the by locator, which is defined in here. The by implementation, it is a class, and these are the set of supported locator strategies using which an object can be identified. So the idea in here is for you guys to understand that Selenium in Python is basically a set of code which is written to automate the browser. And to automate the browser, we have got different entities available: WebDriver, Web Element, and By, each of them referring to one aspect of the automation effort. And from the Python perspective, these are all classes which has got some inbuilt methods available which will help us automate the browser at hand. Does this make sense? Are you guys clear? So for example, if using Python you want to talk to an Excel file, or if using Python you want to automate a browser, or if using Python you want to talk to a database at hand, there will be a available Python module for it. Okay? Using that Python module, you will be importing some classes. Then you will be creating object of those classes and calling the methods associated with those classes to work. Okay, so how can Python interact with all these third parties? You have something called as a Python module which you have to install. For installation, we use a command called as pip install module name. Once the module is installed, you use import command to call the required class from the module, create object of the class, call inbuilt methods, and perform your action. So, as an assignment, the question for you guys is what is the command to install Selenium for Python? Question 3 is find out the name of some modules using which you can work with Excel, work with XML, work with MySQL DB. Okay, these are the three assignments you guys have to do for this. Making sense, guys? So, like in Java, you have got jars. In Ruby, you have gems. In Python, you have modules. These modules are available to us in the PYPI website. This is the website for Python modules. For example, if I want to search for Selenium, Selenium is a Python module. Do you see so many different types of packages available just for Selenium? If you want to search for XML, search for XML. If you want to search for maybe some network function, search for network function. So pypi.org is the place where you will search for the modules in Python. So people have created their own modules where they have taken the pains to provide with you inbuilt modules to manage the functioning of these third party interfaces by creating classes, interface, methods, and build functions. All you have to do is install the module in your Python place by using the pip command, pip install, and then in your program you have to import a class from the module you have just installed and create the object of that class and call the inbuilt methods. So that is our procedure. Any questions? Anything which is not clear? Any questions, guys? No questions? So, with that, we are done with the week 1 of our class where we have finished learning Python as a programming language. Next week, we will be having two classes where we will be learning about Selenium. We'll start with Selenium IDE concept and learn the basic things in Selenium, mainly locators using the IDE and the live web application which we will be working on. Okay. So please take your time in the weekend. Try to do the assignments which we have given for the Python language. And once you are done with the code, at least try to do 70-75% of the programs. And Once you are done with that code, submit it to me via email and I will evaluate and get back to you. Okay? So thank you so much for your time this week. I hope you all have a good and a productive weekend. Take care. Bye everyone. Have a good night. Bye.